Dear students, good morning. Let us start the discussion on today's Good Morning Laex, that is 13th August 2019. So, yesterday we have discussed about something called as Right to Information Act and Transparency. Now, today let us discuss there is another important area which is being spoken, that is related to citizen charters, and also we discuss NGOs or civil society. In our Union Executive chapter, questions are specifically coming on pressure groups. The topic which they spoke about is formal, informal organizations that are impacting the Union Executive, citizen charters, NGOs, and civil society. So, in the definition of civil society, to an extent, we can also include pressure groups. Now, when we come to citizen charters, remember a charter is one thing, which is a set of rules which are defined by an authority. So, with regard to services, till now we are seeing the services from the eyes of the bureaucracy rather than the eyes of the citizens. Now, let us start seeing the services from the eyes of the citizens. So, it means that let's pursue the services how citizen perceives it as. It means quality as per the expectations of the citizens, standards as per the expectations of the citizens, delivery as per the expectations of the citizens. Everything, let's make it something called citizen centric. So, citizen charters are creating certain parameters to measure a particular service based on the perceptions of the citizen. That is first thing. And the second thing is these citizen charters are remarkably successful in the countries in Europe, UK. It is based on a concept called new public management. According to this, any service or anything that is measured in the government, measurement leads to improvement. So that's why this has spoken about quantification of public services and measuring the services based on this quantification, which has believed to be led to improvement. Now, to quantify the services and to improve them, we got something called charter mark scheme. So we have citizen charters and then we have charter mark scheme. After that, excellence awards. So these are to provide for appreciation to the better performing citizen charters. So in India, though we got these citizen charters, still we have certain challenges. So this is basic about citizen charters. So what we shall understand: quality, choice, standards, value, and then accountability, transparency. These are the things that has to guide the principles of the citizen charters. So in this scenario, what is necessary for an effective charter? Anything in governance, change the existing process. So changing existing process, what do we call it as? Business process reengineering. And the second thing what we have to do, we have to build the organizational capabilities, individual capabilities. How can we build organizational and individual capabilities? We need to train them, train the people properly. And third, motivate them. How can we motivate them? Bring in behavioral change. Third, fourth is professionalize them. How can we professionalize them? Behavioral training and also providing them something called sensitivity towards the citizens and their needs. And after this, we also have to motivate incentivization and also create pressure. How can we create pressure? Through awareness of the people. Now, in this context, what are the problems in India? The citizen charters are moral charters, not legal charters. It means that the moral charters that indicates they are seriously meant to improvise the services by creating an obligation on the public servants. In case of Malaysia, we call these charters as client charters. The client charters are legal charters with a right to compensation. In India also there is some effort which was made to make it legal. We have Right to Services Act, and then we also have right of previously the BJP government, I think, no, Manmohan Singh government, it has tried to bring in a right of citizens for timely delivery of goods and services, timely delivery of goods and services, and redressal of their grievances bill. So this is lapsed now, but bringing in public grievance officers is the important thing which this bill has recommended for. The weakest link in public service delivery in India, that is lack of effective grievance redressal system. So in India we have the CP grams, but however it is confined only to the government services. So what about the private services? Let we leave it to market forces. That is what is the question. And the next is the citizen charters are more described as managerial charters because within the organization the bottom is not been involved, only the decision making at the top is getting involved in the preparation of the charters. And third, every charter has to be unique and it has to have the philosophy of the organization, vision, mission, everything has to be the part of the organization. But these are replica of the citizen charter of Department of Public Grievances. And so now see, it means our establishment did not take the citizen charters very seriously. When we go to other countries, Service Standards Initiative is there, I think, in Canada, and then Services Charter in France. Everywhere they have become successful only because of the seriousness of the government. And then I also spoke to you about a committee, that is Bernard Herden Committee. What that the Bernard Herden Committee said: effective communication, professionalization of civil services, professionalism in them, and then the behavioral changes. These can improve the effectiveness of the citizen charters. And also, we discussed about previously the seven-step model which was given by second ARC towards the citizen charter. So, any answer you can go with this seven-step model in an order towards closing the quality citizen charters. So, this is in a nutshell about the citizen charters. Now, let's go further and understand civil society. Now, civil society, what all the functions it does, or what is civil society? Anything between individual, family, that is personal sphere, and the sphere of authority, that is the state. In between, whatever the associational space is there, we call it as civil society. Only thing is, the civil society has to work within the legal framework of the country. Now, the civil society has occupied a lot of space to increase the power of a citizen and then to counter and make the state accountable. So, the civil society has a democratic dimension because it is improving something called accountability. The civil society also has a developmental dimension. It also takes up various functions related to advocacy and policy. Like that, different kinds of the civil society we have in India. Now, pressure groups is also a kind of a civil society. What is a pressure group? So, a group of organizations, civil society organizations, which are meant to move a particular agenda to the interest of its members, we call it as a pressure groups. So, these form a collective lobby. And here, always pressure groups, how can they take away the interests of a society? So, National Rifle Association, gun culture in the United States of America, we can talk it as an example. So, in India, the lobbying is illegal. Any use of money towards influencing the policy is illegal. So, in this context, Walmart is said to have used money to get into inroad to make inroads into India. That is one example which you can quote over here. And the third is the civil society is supposed to bridge the democratic deficit. It is meant to bridge a democratic deficit. Is it really bridging the democratic deficit, or is it widening the democratic divide in this country? Because the civil society is highly fragmented in India, and this fragmented civil society working towards the interests of the rich and influential. So that's why, to what extent this civil society is serving the poor and marginalized, that is the question. And here, Rudolph, they talk about something called involuted pluralism. What is meant by involuted pluralism? The number of civil society organizations are increasing, but these civil society organizations they are creating that space of voice or space of ideas in a given country or not. Especially in India, they are failing to create that. So let's take, we have hundreds of the rights groups, but their agenda appears to be more or less similar. So involuted pluralism means the number of associations and groups are increasing, but their actions and ideas are not increasing. That's what Rudolph is talking about. And next we see this the civil society groups. These are seen as extension of political parties in India. Normally, ideology has to drive a civil society organization or a political party. Many of them more operational than ideological. That is what is the bigger challenge over here. And the civil society and political parties, they have minute differences, and these differences have to be maintained for the needs of the democracy. But to an extent, there is collusion between political parties and civil society in India. So I'm using their working together is fine for me, but their collusion is meant to decrease the democratic space. And further, today we are having certain complaints that the civil society organizations are misusing the foreign donations. So, or other way around, if you see that the Foreign Contributions Regulation Act is misused by the state to control the voice of the civil society, voice of civil society. So, I mean, especially Tista Setalwad. So, all these people, Setalwad, and all these people are getting harassed in the name of Foreign Contributions Regulations Act. Or civil society is being criticized as an instrument of globalization or Western propaganda. So this instrument of propaganda of the West. So this is what, especially Christian missionaries, the in the name of developmental funds, are they are trying to change the demography of India? That is what is the question which has come up over here. And the state do not have effective instruments as of now to regulate the civil society. Now here, eminent civil society person. So National Judicial Appointments Commission was also talking about eminent people in this walks of life. But we do not have a well-developed conceptualization of the civil society. If we take the origins of the civil society, it was meant to do some benefit to the market forces. So we have to check it out. Is the civil society did effective for all, or justice, or else is able to deliver everyone everything? That is what we have to wait and see. And also, civil society suffers from something called silo mentality. What is the silo mentality? There is no effective coordination action between various civil society organizations. This is what we call it as silo mentality. And the next, today, the corruption is also associated. Corruption, opaque functioning. They don't even file, many of them don't even file income tax returns. Corruption, opaqueness, even money laundering. These are the various allegations that are there on the civil society organizations. So, civil society, where it is getting its authority from to question the government, etc., obviously from the voice of the citizen. And when it is not able to respect the voice of the citizen, then how can it enjoy the power of the voice of the citizen? These are the questions that are being raised. And the next, remember one thing, the civil society's developmental function is more and more seen in contrast and collision with the government. See, developmental functions, these all need to be coordinative and cooperative, but these are becoming on a collision course. Why these are coming with a collision course? The government sees the development from maximum benefit to maximum people. Now, with regard to civil society, it sees the development from another dimension where no one shall be disadvantaged. What the government opinion over here is, these people who are worried about a minority faction who are getting displaced. So, justice for all, it means that even a small faction or an individual is or a small animal is getting injustice, then we have to work for it. So they work from the concerns of equity, justice, and then government is working on improvising the material benefits and material progress of the country. In this context, especially big dams, infrastructure projects, the rehabilitation concerns, displacement concerns, when they are more and more raised by the civil society organizations, obviously the government feels them as hindrance to development. There is also a report which was given by the I think Intelligence Bureau to the government, which states that the civil society organizations, these are acting in interest of the others, and they are responsible for the loss of growth of 2% GDP. These kind of reports are also been given. Prime Minister Modi, they called from time to time them as the five-star activists. The people who sit in five-star hotels and they do make the things, they do not know any ground realities. That's what the sarcasm which was given by him. So this increasing rift between the government and civil society, that's a big challenge which has to be there. And then civil society need a renewed focus because of changing nature of Indian polity. The concentration of authority and then single party dominant system is coming back to Indian politics. It means today, more and more, the parliament as a voice is getting relegated because of the majoritarianism. So in India, either our federalism, either our parliamentary form of government were unable to offer effective checks against the majoritarian or majoritarian rule, or effective checks against a party which has got the highest number of seats or brutal majority. So the second house in India is not very strong. In this context, different voices can only come within a particular party or within civil society. When the power gets concentrated, the civil society becomes much, much stronger, or it has to get much stronger to provide the space for the voice. That's how I can see this as. So, these are the topics for discussion today. And then, see the previous questions. He was asking very fundamental questions like difference between civil society and political parties, and then pressure groups, a critical analysis of their functioning in India. These are very basic questions, not much depth into it. So you can write easy answers in these particular areas. Now, my point is only one thing. In this examination, you need to be very assured about your strengths, confident about your strengths. Don't worry too much about your weakness. Weakness can be improved. Be motivated on the strengths. Ensure that you do wonders with regard to your strengths are concerned. This is what my thing to the students is. Now, be again, I'm saying only one point. If you are doing your work regularly, rest assured the success comes to you. So don't try to over stress yourself with regard to targets. Do peacefully. Think on what you are doing. That makes a big difference in this exam. Right. Thank you very much. Have a great day.